Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I am your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we're going to be talking about The Sisters Brothers, a Western adventure film starring John C. Reilly, Joaquin Phoenix, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Riz Ahmed. Now, there will be a few spoilers in this review, but as usual, I will give you plenty of warning before I get into them. After a chemist discovers an easy way to prospect for gold using a chemical formula, a wealthy boss called the Commodore sends the infamous Sisters Brothers to go and find him. Their mission is to meet up with another associate of the Commodore's who has already tracked down the chemist and get the formula from the chemist by any means necessary. Things get complicated when the associate decides to turn on his boss and work with the chemist to gather lots of gold. The Sisters Brothers is a bit of a tough nut to crack when it comes to whether or not I'd want to recommend it to you. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like this movie and I liked it a lot, but I don't know if it'll be for everybody. When it comes to the movie's strengths, that would have to be its characters. The four main characters were really good, and if they weren't as good as they were, this one might not have worked. First is Joaquin Phoenix as Charlie Sisters, who is the hard-drinking and violent one of the Sisters Brothers duo, who also just happens to be the man in charge of the duo. While he is really good at his job, and I mean really good, his drinking and violent nature also causes a lot of issues throughout the movie for our main characters. Next is John C. Reilly as Eli Sisters, and he is the heart of our main bounty hunter duo. He has to not only deal with the missions the duo go on, but with his brother's problems as well. He has dreams of quitting the life, so to speak, which is worrisome because you wonder just how long his brother Charlie would survive without his brother there to guide him. He seems to be the brother that is always wanting more out of life, whether it be the love of a lady that gave him this red shawl, more on that in a bit, or discovering just how great brushing your teeth can feel. He's always looking for ways to improve himself, and he's looking at things outside of the life they are living right now. When it comes to the men they're hunting, first is the chemist, Herman Kermit Warm, which is a name that's pretty hard to say, played by Riz Ahmed. While the Commodore treats him like he's a criminal, it turns out that he just wants Warm because of the chemical compound that he's discovered, his Fine Gold Easy formula. Warm has dreams of living in a country where greed doesn't rule, but true democracy and new ideas. The irony is that he is going to use the tons and tons and tons of gold he plans to find to accomplish this. Riz Ahmed gets to once again team up with his Nightcrawler co-star Jake Gyllenhaal in this. Gyllenhaal, who plays the Commodore's associate, John Morris. Like they were in Nightcrawler, the two once again make a great on-screen team. Morris at first goes along with the plans of his boss, but is swayed by the very charismatic Warm, who talks of his possible better life in Texas. And by the way, with the character's name being John Morris, all I could think of is wanting to see Jake Gyllenhaal play that character of the same name from the Genesis Castlevania game if they made a movie out of it. The Sisters Brothers is also a fantastic looking film, whether it be the emptiness of the road, the advanced streets of the 1800s San Francisco, a horse that is running ablaze, or gunfire in a completely dark setting. Even if you watch this movie and you are not enjoying the movie itself, you can't deny just how fantastic this movie looks. I think that some people might have some issues with a couple of things in this movie. First of all, the pacing is a bit slow. Now, I didn't mind it so much because I was enjoying the story, but I could see some not liking how long things were taking at times. Also, some of the things that drove our characters' motivations may or may not matter in the end. And okay, this... Here is where I might get a little spoilery. For those that don't want anything spoiled, I'd say that I'd recommend this movie, but only if you like slow-burning, character-driven films. For those that aren't so sure of it, I'd still recommend it as a strong rental. So, okay, here we go. diving into spoiler territory. You still with me? And here we go. When it comes to what drives our characters in this movie, you begin to see that really none of it matters. I know I said I'd be giving spoilers, but I'm finding myself not wanting to really ruin this movie for anybody. I will give one example and leave it at that. And I mentioned the Red Shawl earlier, so I'll use that. I'll use the example of Eli's sister's red shawl that he carries around as an example. Now, in a typical movie plot, this item and its storyline would have some sort of payoff. But in this movie, it kind of doesn't. While you can imagine that after the movie is over, this plot device will matter, that the payoff will happen, it doesn't in the movie. This is a similar feeling that some might get with multiple plot devices and storylines in this one. I think that the lack of on-screen payoffs might bother some people, but if you look past that and think, well, this stuff might have mattered after the story was over, you might still dig it. Another thing that might bother fans of the book is that a lot of the ending, or a lot of the, I would even say, third act has been changed now. I haven't read the book, but I did study up on it after this. I won't say any more because I don't want to give away more of the movie or the book. Again, while I wouldn't recommend this movie to everybody, I would still recommend it highly. As I've stated many times before on this channel, I love character-driven movies. And The Sisters Brothers is just that, as well as, for me, a fantastic slow-burning story. I don't know if it'll make my top 10 this year, but it'll be close if it doesn't. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel, like this video, and if you have anything to say about this movie, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later.